Stugotz here. Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better, simpler way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to live events. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I found to shop for tickets. I could be anywhere, and with just a few taps, I can instantly find seats. SeatGeek is designed to make your ticket buying experience easier than ever. SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports and concerts to comedy and theater. Best of all, my listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code LeBatard today. That's LEBATARD. That's promo code LeBatard for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
If you weren't with us during the local hour, Stugotz, every once in a while, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while he gets tired of being the piñata. At some point, I'm wondering when it is Roger Goodell is going to get tired of being the piñata. Probably never, because they keep giving him extensions to be the piñata.
$212.5 million over the last 10 years.
You make plenty of money, too, and you still, occasionally, there's no telling when it is Stugotz is going to lash out. So, Stugotz, for a lot of years, has been doing the promos for this show where he says, coming up today on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, X, Y, and Z. And today, he comes in here and he just says, coming up on the show today, Cody Cassidy. And Mike and I, and at this point, Stugotz can just feel it on us.
Mm-hmm.
Mike and I just give him a withering stare because nobody knows who Cody Cassidy is. Before I came in here today,
right.
I didn't know who Cody Cassidy is. He's got to explain who Cody Cassidy is.
I feel your eyeballs on me. You guys notice I never stare at you guys when it's happening. I just feel them. I know they're there. I know you guys are both looking at me like, why is he here?
Okay, but now I want to paint a picture for you. So Stugotz in his right hand, because he comes in here and he is a radio monster. Okay, he is.
I'm radio.
He is amazingly the least evolved and the most evolved radio creature, because you're going to hear in this sound all of it. The entire Stugotz spectrum is going to be on display here. He's got a kind bar in his right hand, half-eaten, chocolate chunks on his teeth, and there are crumbs on the console in front of him. And so, Mike Ryan, just go ahead and play it as me and Mike stare at Stugotz because he hasn't explained who Cody Cassidy is.
Hey, Stugotz, join us today. We'll be joined by Cody Cassidy, and we'll talk Mayweather and McGregor. Sorry. What does he do? He explains to you how it feels to die? Look, tell me what it is. How's that sound? I mean, I'll swallow my food before I read the thing. How's that sound?
He will tell you exactly what happens to you when you get swallowed by a whale.
All right, idea, guy? I got to eat it. I mean, why wouldn't I eat? It took me 2.5 hours to get down here because it was pouring rain out, and why wouldn't I eat? I didn't have a chance to eat. I can't eat and drive. Now I'm hungry, and I got promos to do. What do you want me to do? Who's Cody Cassidy? Is that the guy who explains to you what it feels like to die or be eaten by a whale?
Swallowed by a whale, thrown into a volcano.
Okay. Hey, it's Stugotz. Join us today. Cody Cassidy going to join us. He's going to tell you what it feels like to be eaten by a whale. Plus, we'll talk to Max Kellerman, the Dan Le Batard Show with me, Stugotz, today, 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. It turned it on there. Huh?
Yeah, well, the part that's great about it, it's like watching a hobo come to life on the street, and he's got the voice of an angel. Like a hobo that was just laying on the street, and you're just walking by, and you're like, ooh, it smells kind of like urine. And then he gets up and he whips off his clothes and he's dressed, he's dressed like, Chris Brown.
Didn't that actually happen on American Idol?
No, not American Idol. It happened. It was a viral video, and the guy got a contract with Kraft Macaroni and Cheese as their voice.
What do you mean it got? No, wait a minute.
The homeless person with the heavenly voice, and he got voice acting. Well,
that guy was a former radio star, and then it turns out, I know how this story always ends the same way. He gets discovered, and then we start digging through his past. He's got a criminal record, and he's got drug abuse, and then he relapses, and it's a sad story. But I guess it's like a cliche, that story at this point. Guy is discovered. He's got the golden pipes. He used to be homeless. Let's give him celebrity. That seems like a good idea.
His name was Ted Williams. The splendid Splinter.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about, and it's not the same thing at all. And I don't know why you made him the splendid Splinter. Anyways, never mind. Let's move on. I want to get into what happened here with Rich Hill of the Dodgers yesterday, and I want to ask you, when's the last time you felt that bad for an athlete? Rich Hill of the Dodgers had thrown very few pitches. He had a perfect game in the ninth inning, perfect game ruined by an error. Yep. Is that the first time that's ever happened? I think that's the first time that's ever happened in Major League history.
I know it's the first time that a no-hitter was broken up by a walk-off home run. I'm not certain about the other part.
Well, okay, let's look this up because I may have my information wrong, but I thought that a perfect game had never been ruined on an error in the ninth inning.
First no-hitter ruined in extra innings by walk-off.
Okay, and so that's what happened after. What happened after is in the bottom of the 10th, and then because you're on the road, that becomes a tricky situation, right? Because you shouldn't even have him pitch the 10th unless he's got to pitch the 11th to get the no-hitter. So once you're entering into the 10th and your team hasn't scored and he's pitching in the bottom of the 10th, his choices there are either to lose the game. What do you do? He had thrown fewer than 100 pitches. Right. You got to leave him out there, right? But now you're leaving him out there. You're committing to leave him out there for the 10th and the 11th.
Yeah, pretty much. He was at 99 pitches, right? It's a tricky spot. It is.
Well, when's the last time you felt that bad for an athlete? Because it escalated very quickly, and what ended up happening is you go from perfect to you're the loser. You go from perfect to imperfect to you're the loser. And I saw what was unusual to me is that there was an outpouring of caring about a guy and a situation that you might not otherwise care for. Like there was a connection point, a human connection point where whether you care about the Dodgers or not, you did not have to care about the Dodgers. You did not have to care about baseball.
Right.
You really didn't need to care about sports.
Right.
To sort of understand the feeling of coming close and then having it pulled away from you.
I think Galarraga is a good example coming in via text, but I also felt bad for the umpire. Jim Joyce?
Yeah, that was the rare situation where we went from perfect to everybody was imperfect. Jim Leland was yelling at Joyce. Joyce was tearfully apologizing. Jim Leland was tearfully apologizing for berating him. Like it was everybody. It was supposed to be such a joyous moment that everybody was crying. But what the reason I wanted to talk about this is because so Rich Hill makes you feel something. And what I wanted to get into, because I'm, again, getting this today, and I don't understand the obsession that folks have with this, but a guy writes in here, guys, please address ESPN pulling a guy named Robert Lee off the UVA game. It's ridiculous and has to make for good show fodder. Now, this topic, as many are in sports, has been hijacked. Yes, thank you.
You got it.
By politics. And so what's happened here, if you don't know this story, the story is, Charlottesville has a great deal of racial strife right now. Nazism made a surprise comeback a couple of weeks ago. And, a car from a neo-Nazi group drove into a group of pedestrians, nonviolent protesters, and killed a woman. And all of this fighting is over statues and Civil War statues, and Robert E. Lee's statue has been, toppled in Charlottesville. Anyway, long story short, Robert Lee is a broadcaster for ESPN that many people do not know. Robert Lee was going to do a game in Charlottesville. Because of his name, ESPN pulled him off the game, at least in part because he was asking before he went, hey, you sure this is a good idea? People are going to make fun of this. It's probably quieter if my name isn't associated with this game.
And his production staff had some concerns about that as well.
He initially reached out to his producers asking, hey, is this
But this is the
something?
question I want to ask people, because I know so many of you are tired of how sensitive you have to be toward the feelings of others. And you're tired of you need to be tolerant toward minorities and gays and transgender, and you have this pushed on you in a way all the time that you feel that America's liberal-leaning and that you've backlashed against it by electing a president who is anti-politics. He's not a politician. And so because so much is circling in the air around this kind of stuff. But my question to you is this. Is there actually a harm in being too sensitive toward the feelings of others? The reason I tie it into the Rich Hill thing is because there's a connection point. There's a human connection point that we all understand. People are hijacking this and now turning into a politics story. Look at how weak ESPN is. When, if ESPN had gone through with this, you would have been there with the jokes. You would have been there.
100%.
The moment somebody noticed that Robert Lee was doing a game in Charlottesville, somebody would have been there with the jokes to pull on the other end of this.
Yeah, but is that somebody who's objecting to Robert Lee being pulled off the game? You can't say that everyone would be sending him jokes.
No, but I'm not talking in the absolutes.
But the jokes would have come, yes.
I'm saying that the company would have been in a position, and look, this is something that I would have made fun of if I didn't have the information in front of me. It looks like ESPN is being weak and too politically correct. But I'm just curious as to when we talk about this subject around here, I feel like one of the things that gets lost all the time is why not be sensitive to the perspective of people who are different than you, who have a different perspective than you? I know you're complaining about we're too overly sensitive, but I'm wondering what the harm in that is. Extending a sensitivity to somebody the way that you extended it to Rich Hill last night, even though you might not care at all.
Right.
You might not care at all about anything that was happening there. You didn't have a bet on it. You don't care about the Dodgers. You don't like baseball. But that guy was close to perfection. And at the end, he had it all spoiled, and then he just leaves the game a loser, and it happened suddenly, and there was an outpouring for this guy.
But people relate to what Rich Hill went through last night. He was so close to something, and it got ripped away from him at the last minute. A lot of people can relate to that. It's hard for a lot of people to relate to how other people feel.
No, but Stugotz, here's the thing that I would say to you. What's not hard to understand, when your feelings have been hurt, is what you want to hear somebody telling you you're being too sensitive? Or do you want them to know that your feelings are hurt? And so, I feel like this is the crossroads that the country is at. Shut up already with your complaints about injustice or you're being too sensitive. I could say what I want, and I just wonder, what are you fighting for? What is the thing that you're fighting for that makes you feel okay about saying so-and-so is too sensitive because that person's pain is different than yours, when I would think the connection point on everybody would be, of course I understand pain. You're hurting. I know what it's like to have my feelings hurt because we've all had our feelings hurt. Why? I just don't. What is the harm of erring on the other side of overly sensitive? And I know I sound like a bleeding heart, but I'm asking the question legitimately. What does it cost you? What does it cost you in freedoms and civil liberties to try and understand the pain of somebody else?
It doesn't cost you anything. I'm just telling you that what you're looking for, what you're striving for, while I agree with you, is never going to happen.
Okay,
just not.
Very good.
Yep.
So we didn't solve racism here?
Nope.
Okay, we'll try again next segment.
All right, ESPN again.
Dan Le Batard.
There are some legitimately meaty race stories out there.
Stugotz.
Great.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
What are people talking about today, Mike? Because this is the reason we do the Sueys at this time of year is because it tends to be a pretty slow time in sports. And so every year in August, right before football kicks off, we go through all our Suey categories. We've got 12 of them this year. We got 2 or 3 more to play for you, including Best Prediction. In 10 minutes, we're going to get to Best Prediction. They're our Oscars, and it's just a celebration of the year in review. But what are people talking about today? Is it the Kyrie Irving trade still?
Kyrie still. Sports actually picked up this week. We got the Kyrie trade.
Yep.
Rich Hill, obviously, you mentioned that in the first segment. McGregor-Mayweather, big fight this weekend. Odell Beckham's injury. Le'Veon Bell's holdout. The Kaepernick protests in New York. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, so the trade, Stugotz, this is what's happened, right? Won't most people agree with this? I think they'll agree with this, that the Cavs did better than you thought they were going to do when they lost their leverage and felt like they had to trade Kyrie Irving. Yes?
Oh, absolutely.
They
did
got
a really good job.
They got more than you usually get when you're trading a superstar. Mm-hmm. So, and some people might argue, we could go back and forth about who won the trade, right? But some people might argue that Cleveland won the trade, right?
Yes. A lot of people would argue that.
But Cleveland won the trade and got worse, correct?
Yes. But they didn't drop that much in talent where they won't make it back, at least in my opinion, to the NBA Finals. No one's beaten Golden State, but I still think they make it to the Finals.
How are they going to use that Brooklyn pick? Are they going to take that Brooklyn pick and try and turn it immediately into some more help for LeBron? That you can't assess this trade in the now because they're going to go and make another move with that valuable Brooklyn pick.
Right.
And so the trade is going to end up becoming Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and whoever it is that they trade for with that Brooklyn pick.
I think that Brooklyn pick was for the future. It's earmarked for the future. It is not earmarked to, hey, let's get LeBron more help. They know LeBron's leaving. They're not going to make this mistake again. I'd find it impossible to believe that Dan Gilbert's going to make this mistake again.
Well,
That's for the future.
But it doesn't have to be a mistake. You could take the pick and you could take the Brooklyn pick and get someone young who's under contract that helps you this year and then also helps you beyond.
I guess you could do that. It's a good point.
I would argue maybe a smart play is sitting on it until this offseason because no matter what, it's going to have value unless Brooklyn surprises people this season. And then you either have a high pick to rebuild your franchise, or if LeBron decides he's coming back, you can flip it for another talent.
Wait a minute. You guys are arguing that the smart play is to give LeBron the weaker team?
I'm arguing that the smart play is seeing what you have here, and if you need the help, then you can use it this season. Absolutely. Don't marry yourself to any sort of idea, but sitting on it at least till mid-season, seeing how the Nets are playing, see if your team needs help, then you can use that, or you can wait till the end of the season, see if LeBron needs more help, immediate help, like a Paul George type, like it was talked about last season, or if LeBron leaves, you can use it on a high pick that can help rebuild your franchise.
The smart play is to do exactly what they did. They still have a roster that can make it to the NBA Finals, and they're set up at least a little bit for the future with the pick.
I know, but
see, it's not a sexy option.
I'm asking you guys, though.
He's leaving.
Okay, see, that's the one that you're doing. And so do you resign yourself to he's leaving? And if you've resigned yourself to he's leaving, then don't you go and plead with him to waive his no trade? So they can get something. Like if
I would present him a list of teams and say, LeBron, we know you're leaving. Here, the Rockets, the Spurs, because he could say no to any of them. Tell us the teams you want to go to, and we'll try to work out a deal. That's what I would do if I was Dan Gilbert. I mean, what's the point? You go back to the NBA Finals and lose again to the Warriors?
You can make an impassioned play. I'm with that idea. LeBron, where do you want to go? And he'll immediately say no, because he's not about that.
But wait a minute, you guys are arguing that you just throw up your hands on the last LeBron year? Not only give him the weaker team, but also you guys are just saying don't even try to get him back, really. That you just resign yourself to he's leaving. That's the management philosophy that you guys have decided to partake
100%.
I'm not resigning myself to that, but I'm keeping my options open. I'm not going all in either direction.
You're not resigning yourself to that? Like, what makes you think he's staying there? He hasn't said the owner's name. He hasn't addressed him by name since he came back to Cleveland.
All of NBA history can change if Kevin Durant turns an ankle, okay? Keep your options open.
They're still not as good, Mike.
Well, one of the things that just becomes really hard for me when we start analyzing these things is, good God, Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder were nothing a few years ago. And now people are talking about Cleveland won the trade. You know what I mean? Like these were guys. These were guys that a couple of years ago. I don't know how good these two players actually are. I just know that they were given an opportunity in Boston to maximum overachieve with a team in Boston that was overachieving more than any in the sport. That Boston team was overachieving more than any in the sport, and now you've got Is it fair to even do what I'm doing, which is to wonder how good somebody is who averaged 30 points a game last season in the NBA?
No, that's fair.
Is it fair? Because it doesn't feel very fair.
Oh, I feel like, he's coming off a hip injury, so that definitely makes it fair.
But it doesn't seem fair by me to say that Isaiah Thomas isn't that good because I thought he wasn't that good 3 years ago, and now I think he's a product of an opportunity and an environment.
Right.
It feels like I'm doing something unfair, but I'm right.
All I want to do is a zoom, zoom,
That's
zoom.
Convenient.
And a boom, boom.
That is convenient.
Works out well
I
for
love
you.
it when that happens.
How much more help does LeBron need, by the way? Seriously, with this pick. I mean, the roster is loaded. He's got a former MVP coming off the bench in Derrick Rose. I didn't even get to Kyle Korver. They got Jose Calderon, Jay Crowder, Channing Frye, Jeff Green. They are loaded. Might be the deepest team in the NBA.
Should have left Calderon out of that.
They've got 1,000 guys, and not one of them plays defense.
But I've heard of them.
That team was terrible defensively last year and just got worse.
Hey, Crowder's a good defender, though.
That team just got worse defensively.
Darren Williams has to be a casualty here, right?
Dan Le Batard.
I can make the argument that Calvin Johnson's the third best receiver ever.
Easily, yes.
Not easily, Stugotz.
No, you easily could. Look at the numbers. Easily could.
Stugotz.
Like, your contribution to this conversation was just an easily.
I was trying to, support you.
Keep your support.
Listen, you made a statement. I was supporting it with easily. That's what you do for a friend. What does my friend do back to me? Criticizes my support.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Here's your SportsCenter update. More than 1,000 supporters of former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick showed their solidarity with him and his cause at a rally outside NFL headquarters Wednesday, demanding that he be signed by the start of the regular season next month. Baseball legend Hank Aaron said the NAACP and the NAACP have weighed in on the fate of Kaepernick. Aaron said he thinks Kaepernick is getting a raw deal and called on an NFL team to give the outspoken quarterback a chance to do his thing. Derek Johnson, the NAACP's interim president and CEO, says no player should be victimized and discriminated against because of his exercise of free speech. And finally, it's ridiculous. No one knows who's playing Batman. No one knows who's playing the Joker. Warner Brothers is a mess that's developing two different Joker movies in two different time periods with two different Jokers. And it appears the two films have nothing to do with each other. One moment, Affleck is Batman. The next, he's not. Now, he might still be Batman, but he can still change. It's all one big hot mess, Dan. I'm tired of it. It's ridiculous. Seriously, figure it out. Too many movies. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. That's absurd. Hey, I'll tell you who else is jumping the shark is Star Wars. They're doing these Han Solo movies, and now they're doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't care about the individual characters. I'm done with Star Wars, and I can speak on behalf of the rest of the country. We're all done with Star Wars. We're sick of it. Enough. George Lucas, enough. Stop reaching into my pockets, Lucas. Did I say that right?
He doesn't own Star Wars anymore.
Well, whoever does, stop
Disney
reaching into my pockets.
does.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Well, keep reaching into my pockets. Go ahead. But seriously, you know what? I got to keep it real here. That's a bad idea. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who cares about Obi-Wan Kenobi? I would say of all the Star Wars characters, the one you care least about is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I hope.
You go Luke Skywalker, you go Han Solo, you go Princess Leia, you go Chewbacca, you go Jabba the Hutt. All right, a long list before you get to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Leave out Yoda.
This may be how it ends, and he has no idea. Like, if the guy who runs Disney is riding around in his car right now and happened to have heard that, given the push that the company has made about Star Wars, I would not be surprised if he fired you and ended our show. Like, I'm not kidding. If that person happens to be driving around right now, listening to you railing against Star Wars in the name of keeping it real while having no idea how real you're keeping it.
It's all right. I'm sure we'll have 12 spinoffs. Fat Chris Show, Guillermo Show, Bells, Allison Turner will have a show. I'm the only one who won't have a show. I mean, the Fine Bucket Show, because I'll be fired and banned for life, banished for life. I apologize to everyone. That's a good idea. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am getting behind this Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Time now for the Suey for best prediction.
And now, the Suey nominee for best prediction made on the show. Mike Ryan says Dion Waiters won't start for the Heat.
You don't think he
Quite
starts?
honestly, no.
Really?
No, he's not starting over Josh Richardson.
I don't know
He's
about
not.
that.
I don't think there's any chance of that happening, but we'll find out. They're not going to stop the development of Josh Richardson to develop a guy that signed a 1-year deal. I'm sorry, I just don't see Dion Waiters starting and being the replacement for Dwayne Wade. I've got him as a replacement for Gerald Green.
Stugotz says the Jacksonville Jaguars will reach the AFC Championship game.
I am telling you, the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay, and I've been saying this for about a year now, the Jacksonville Jaguars not only will win that division, not only are they going to make the playoffs, they are a team that's going to, at minimum, the AFC Championship game, and they might go to the Super Bowl.
Stugotz says someone will win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor.
I like that guy, though, Tyrod Taylor. I feel like he's pretty good every single week. Someone's going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor.
Oof.
I'm telling you.
Oof.
Stugotz says the Carolina Panthers won't make the playoff.
The Carolina Panthers will not make the playoffs.
Good prediction.
Stugotz says the Dallas Cowboys are not reaching the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott.
Packers-Giants is a big one.
Put
That
the
is
kids
a big
to
one.
bed. Yeah. Put the kids to bed.
It really is. I mean, you got a guy who's won 2 Super Bowls against a guy who's a lot better, who's only won 1 Super Bowl, and it's going to be a very interesting game. I mean, you can make an argument. You really can make this argument, the 2 best teams in the NFC. I don't care what anyone says about the Cowboys. A rookie quarterback, he's not going to the Super Bowl. I promise you. Not happening. Like, if you had an amount of money that mattered to you, and you had the bet on Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers, or Dak Prescott representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year, who would you put that money on? Because it ain't Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan. That's how you do wild card weekend talk there, Dana. That's how you do it.
This is how you were sitting in the Mike and Mike chair.
I was very relaxed, comfortable.
No, but you were physically sitting like that. That is Stugotz's wheelhouse right there. That's his comfort zone. And again, it reveals itself. It's the show Stugotz rather be doing.
I mean, I was comfortable there, man.
Look at what just happened. Look at what happened to his entire body language.
It requires no thinking.
It's not good radio.
Timeout. Have you heard a single person anywhere in sports
Cowherd
media?
said it a week ago.
Stugotz says Brandon Marshall won't be a New York Jet next season.
I thought Hackenberg was the guy.
No, you didn't.
I also thought Bryce Petty was going to be the guy.
Right.
I thought Geno Smith was going to be the guy. But the one guy I never thought was going to be the guy, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Never thought that for a second. You know who did? Todd Bowles. You know who else did? Brandon Marshall. You know who's not going to be a Jet next year? Brandon Marshall. You know who shouldn't be a Jet next year? Todd Bowles.
Stugotz says Amazon will eventually buy Mars.
Yep. What is the end game with Bezos? Does anyone know? Why is he buying Whole Foods? Why is he buying everything?
It's Mars.
Mars is the end game? That's right. He's going to build his own...
I'm telling you, man, all these billionaires, they are figuring out ways to not only take you to Mars, like on a vacation, on a trip, but they are also figuring out ways to live on Mars in the event that something happens here. I'm telling you, he's going to buy Mars.
What do you mean, buy Mars? I don't think Mars is for sale.
Stugotz says LeBron is going to the Spurs.
LeBron James' entire career is one of the most interesting things I have watched in all of my years in sports journalism.
Everything he does and says has a purpose. Like, there's always, he's very calculated. I've said this for a while, off the court, and him and his friends are very, very calculated in the way.
Him and his posse.
That they're doing business. And I'm telling you right now, I'm reporting this exclusively. He's headed to San Antonio.
Okay, very good.
Stugotz says Tiger Woods will win 5 more majors.
I'm telling you right now, okay? I'm reporting it exclusively. Tiger Woods is going to win 5 more majors before his career's done, and he will break Jack Nicklaus's record. How about that?
Stugotz says the Cleveland Cavaliers will win the East the next 10 seasons.
If you think any other team is making it out of the East other than the Cavaliers, I'm not certain you should be covering the NBA. not only for ESPN, but for any media outlet. It's a 5-on-5 game. Let me make it simple for the people who are covering this sport. You can only put 5 players out on the court at once.
Yep.
And when the Cavaliers put their best 5 players out on the court, 3 of their 5 are LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. And you think that Isaiah Thomas at 5'8", who, by the way, was more concerned with his kids saying hello to LeBron James and getting a couple of autographs before the game than he was about the actual game himself, okay? You think that guy, along with Crowder and Avery Bradley, are going to make it to the NBA Finals?
Nope.
Are you out of your minds? You think John Wall and Bradley Beal in a best-of-7 are going to win 4 games against LeBron, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love? I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not in 10 years.
Wait for the next one.
Stugotz says
Wait
the
for
Greek
next
freak will win the next 10 NBA championships.
If you want to win championships, you better win them now. LeBron, Curry, Durant, all you guys. If you want to win them this year or next year. Because after next year, Giannis is going to win them for the rest of time. Okay. He's only 24. He's only 24.
22. He's 22.
In 2 years, he'll be 24.
Okay.
And that's what I was talking about. All right? And so I am telling you, from the age of 24 to 34, which is a 10-year period, no one else is going to win championships. So win them now. Oh, man.
I had coffee with my colleague half an hour ago.
Obi-Wan, man. Go see it.
I want you guys to understand how hard it is to have the prediction that the Jags are going to the Super Bowl be the second dumbest thing you did during a segment.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Dan Le Batard. Stugotz.
When you have the hammer, you gotta use it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
I think while we're at it, ESPN should reassign Bob Lee. Just stay in the news. That doesn't get anything? That doesn't get either a loser game show sound or a Hakeem Nicks laugh.
The joke's been made several times.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed.
We've got, it was a fake laugh.
Yeah. I didn't want to leave you hanging. I gave you something there.
You did give me something.
Yep.
We are just a couple days away from you having access to the loser game show sound and Hakeem Nicks laugh.
Nothing around here works quickly.
Both of us will have access?
No, just Dan.
Oh, that's not fair. But I shouldn't be surprised.
Cody, Dan's not going to know how to work it.
And I can't be trusted.
That's
with
true.
it.
Cody Cassidy's going to join us here in 10 minutes. Stugotz promoted it earlier while he was eating something, and he got mad at us because we told people, you got to tell people who Cody Cassidy is, and this is what happened off air.
Hey, it's Stugotz. Join us today. We'll be joined by Cody Cassidy, and we'll talk Mayweather and McGregor. Sorry. What does he do? He explains to you how it feels to die. Tell me what it is. How's that sound? I mean, I'll swallow my food before I read the thing. How's that sound?
He will tell you exactly what happens to you when you get swallowed by a whale.
All right, idea guy? Yeah, I got to eat it. I mean, why wouldn't I eat? It took me 2.5 hours to get down here because it was pouring rain out, and why wouldn't I eat? I didn't have a chance to eat. I can't eat and drive. Now I'm hungry, and I got promos to do. What do you want me to do? Who's Cody Cassidy? Is that the guy who explains to you what it feels like to die or be eaten by a whale?
Swallowed by a whale, thrown into a volcano.
Okay. Hey, it's Stugotz. Join us today. Cody Cassidy going to join us. He's going to tell you what it feels like to be eaten by a whale. Plus, we'll talk to Max Kellerman, the Dan Le Batard Show with me, Stugotz, today, 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. That is Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Among the many things in there that are objectionable is also the idea that you're waving a kind bar at us while telling us that you can't eat and drive. Like, I mean, what? How much easier would you like us to make it for you to eat and drive than a kind bar?
It's the easiest possible thing to eat while you're driving. You're right. Tell me what it is. How's that sound?
He's chewing on half the kind bar. He dismissively calls Mike Ryan a right idea guy. He condescends him, and he can't be bothered to take his breakfast out of his mouth while yelling at him.
Tell me what it is. How's that sound?
All right, that guy joins us next.
Dan Batard.
Biggest morons in the history of radio.
Stugotz.
I like that sentence for the tombstone on this show. Biggest morons in the history of radio.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
The name of the book is And Then You're Dead. What really happens if you get swallowed by a whale and shot from a cannon or go barreling over Niagara. Cody Cassidy with us now on ESPN Radio. And so we've got a bunch of different questions here. We've got a bunch of different questions on how it is that people die. And what is the most common one that you get, Cody? And thank you for making time for us. What is the most common one that you get? Questions about how it feels to die a certain way.
Maybe the most common is falling through a hole dug to China. It's something that we've all sort of thought about maybe when we were kids, digging a sand pit, and so we research on it, and it turns out it's possible to fall through, but it would end poorly for you. You have to go to Hawaii. It turns out to actually make it to the land. Otherwise you'll end up in the Indian Ocean. But if you dig a hole in Hawaii, you'll end up in a Botswana game preserve. Of course, you won't actually end up there because you'll sort of fall for about a minute, and you'll end up in this 1,000-degree sort of crematorium. And it's even worse than that because the air is so thick down there that it's sort of like a hot tub, 1,000-degree hot tub. So you'll sort of
wait a minute. So
there.
If you were going, so you live for how long before? How long would you live?
About a minute, we think. About a minute, yeah. You'd probably be falling for about a minute. And the Russians actually tried to do this. They dug this super deep hole just to see how deep they could go, and it made it like 1% of the way. The heat of the earth melted the drill.
Okay, so very good. So you'd burn to death about a minute down.
Yeah. I mean, it turns out though, if you sort of ignore the heat and the air pressure and all that, you'd make it all the way through. You'd sort of pass through the center of Earth at 8,000 miles per hour, and then sort of like hitting the bottom of a swing, your momentum would just sort of carry you to the other side.
Cody, how do you know this? Like, how do you know what really happens?
I wrote this book with a physicist, and we actually just sat down and sort of did the math.
Oh, so
you can try it yourself though if we haven't actually experimented.
Okay,
so you're a middleman.
All right, so you're a middleman. Okay, you're broke.
The physicist should have actually wrote them.
Yeah, we should be talking to the physicist. Okay, so how does this work? The swallowing by a whale. How does one die that way?
Well, it turns out most whales have really small throats because they eat small stuff. But sperm whales eat these like giant squids, so they actually could swallow you whole if you happen to encounter one. Unfortunately, they sort of do their chewing in their stomach, so you would get sort of smashed in their stomach and probably asphyxiate as well. But the good news is sperm whale poop is actually really valuable. It's called it's used on perfumes, and so like a small trunk is worth dollars to these expensive perfumes.
Wait a minute,
so
perfumes are whale poop? Put that on the poll, Guillermo. Did you know that perfumes were whale poop? Is that what you just said? I didn't know that.
The next time you're on the beach, sort of look for the earwax looking rock, and then you can sell it for a few thousand. Actually, really valuable.
Did you know that, Stugotz?
I did. Yeah, it's common knowledge.
Okay, very good. Yeah. How about if I were swallowed by a volcano? Again, the name of the book is "And Then You're Dead." What really happens if you get swallowed by a whale and shot from a cannon or go barreling over Niagara? Swallowed by a volcano. What happens then?
Well, yeah, if you fell into a volcano, it's important to know how high the volcano is, because lava is just liquid rock. So if it's like 40 or 50 feet high, it'd be like falling onto a beach or something, and you just die on impact. Which actually would be probably better. If you actually did fall into lava, it would sort of turn your liquids to steam almost instantly, and you would basically sort of explode, and lava would bubble up, and doing it.
Which would you describe as the worst way to die? The single worst way to die in your book?
The single worst way to die. Well, I would say maybe buried alive. I have a fear about being buried alive, and so we actually did the math on how long you would last in a coffin, and there's sort of two competing ways you would die in a coffin. It's sort of running out of oxygen, of course, or you sort of poison your death with your own CO2. If you breathe too much CO2, which is in our exhales, you sort of it binds to your blood and kills you. And it turns out it's your exhales actually that you would kill you first in this coffin, and it would take about 2.5 hours or something like that. But it turns out we also shouldn't have any fear of being buried alive, because in the morgues they actually they do a blood transfusion, and they take out your blood and they replace it with formaldehyde, which would kill you. So you would actually
so there's good news. All right, good news. So that you'd be dead long before you actually got buried alive.
There's no good way to die, but what's the best way to die?
The best way to die, probably falling into the black hole of space. These giant, powerful, these giant stars that have such a great mass. Their gravity is so intense it would actually pull you apart. It's stronger if you're diving into it head first. It's stronger at your head than it is at your feet, and so it would sort of stretch you. At first it would probably feel good as you were falling into it. And then it would stretch you a little too far, and it would sort of break you apart.
Yeah, that's when it would start feeling awful, right about there. Yeah,
that's when that would feel bad. And then it would keep breaking you apart until you were sort of into separate atoms, and then it would just sort of slam you into the rock.
What's the best way to survive an elevator cable breaking?
The best way to survive? Well, if you're alone, the best way to survive is to lay on your back as the elevator is falling, and sort of spread out the jumping. It turns out doesn't help. A lot of people ask that because you sort of hit the ground at the same speed regardless. But if you lay on your back on the bottom, sort of looking up, you can sort of even out the G-forces and hope to survive. Then, of course, if you're not alone, the best way is to sort of tell everybody else to lay on their back and then climb on top of them, because that'll sort of cushion your fall.
So wait a minute. You're alleging that the best way to survive if an elevator cable breaks is you have to have the presence of mind to lay totally still on your back. I don't think you're surviving that, are you?
Well, probably not. You sort of have to hope that there's the sort of cable at the bottom of the elevator that is broken, is sort of maybe is lying at the bottom, and it sort of cushions your fall. You need to figure out a way to sort of gradually stop, as opposed to just slamming into the bottom. So either some debris down there or people in the elevator would help.
Niagara Falls. What are my chances? What are my chances of surviving Niagara Falls in a barrel?
Well, it's sort of like 1 in 3 of people who have tried it. Normally it's like 180 feet high, so usually falling from that distance in the water will kill you on impact. But because the water is sort of churned up and aerated, it will sort of slow your descent. So most people don't die when they hit the water. The problem is it's sort of aerated and churned up, so you don't really float in it. So it sort of depends on where.
Oh, may drown you? May drown you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they drown you, or if you're in a barrel, it's happened before that somebody got stuck behind the falls, and for 14 hours they were just sort of recycled there, and their barrel ran out of oxygen. And they suffocated. So,
what a terrible way to die!
Awful.
What is that?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but if you survive, you can sort of go on a publicity tour.
Nice.
And,
okay.
Great story.
Okay,
yes.
So there's an upside.
Make all kinds of money.
Yeah.
I like the way you think, Cody. Hey, if you were on the Titanic and didn't make it to a small piece of balsa wood or a lifeboat, what would happen to you?
Oh, yeah, you're dying of hypothermia, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you might die even faster than that. When you hit freezing cold water, the water where the Titanic went down is about 28 degrees. It sort of causes this reflex where you gasp. And if you're underwater and you gasp, of course you'll probably drown right away. But if you avoid that, it actually takes quite a while to kill you from pure cold water. It's probably about 45 minutes before you get so cold your sort of organs shut down. But on the way there, at sometime like 20 minutes, you'll get so numb that your arms and legs will stop sort of working, just like your fingers do in the cold. And that, of course, is bad for swimming. So you'll probably sink at that point, unless you have a door to hang on to, in which case it'll take more like 45 minutes.
All right, so to recap, though, the best way to die is to be torn apart by a black hole. That's what that's the most.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. You're traveling at sort of, it's pulling you so fast you're almost going light speed into the thing while you're even still alive, which would be sort of a record for traveling.
But Cody, how about dying in your sleep though?
Yeah,
like that seems like
but of course, dying in your sleep would be better, Stugotz. We're talking about traumatic events. Yes, Stugotz, thank you.
I mean,
that was excellent work
jumping
by
into
you.
a black hole.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Cody,
dying in your sleep, you wouldn't get a great view of the galaxy as
just fall asleep though.
yeah, that's the best way to die. Thank you. I don't know why we even talked to Cody. Why don't you write a book, Stugotz? Just fall asleep. Oh, you just did. Okay, very good. Cody, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you much.
All right, the name of the book, And Then You're Dead. What really happens if you get swallowed by a whale or shot from a cannon or go barreling over Niagara, or don't do any of those things and just die in your sleep so that you can die more peacefully.
Yep. That'll be the title
Show
of my
me
book.
the money.
Do you not understand what we just
go
did?
to bed.
How?
Hey, black hole. Hey, I can tell you right now, Guillermo is questioning everything that guy just told us. Who really knows? Unless you go do it.
Okay, very good.
Honestly, if you're going to see all the galaxy in a black hole, who are you going to tell? You're dead. Who cares?
Okay. All right. Just die in your sleep.
Dan Batard.
There's a belief that there's gold in the heads of bald men, so police in Mozambique are warning bald men.
Stugotz.
I'd cut my own head off if I were bald. See if there's gold in there. I like money.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mike, did people like that segment? I have not checked. I thought it was interesting. I had a lot of questions, some of the commonly asked questions, but I don't know what the reaction was. You could reach the show at Le Batard Show on Twitter. I'm curious, Stugotz, what you make of the Browns and the idea that Brock Osweiler is out, it would appear, and they feel a need, that Kaiser has shown them enough.
Right.
And the way that Kaiser talked, Kaiser was viewed as one of the steals of the draft, possibly. The way that he was talking coming out of college, talking about, I can be one of the best quarterbacks.
Yep.
And then the scouts were talking about his skill set being something that was not used correctly at Notre Dame, and that he has these pro skills that are so obvious in camp that Hugh Jackson is already, you know what, get out of here, Brock. This is decided. I got to do right by these guys who see what Kaiser looks like in practice, and I got to give him the job because they know. Everybody, it's been made clear to everybody in Browns camp, hey, Osweiler's not a pro quarterback. This guy's our future.
Right. He's also competing against Brock Osweiler, though. I mean, I'm not certain if he's on any other team, if he's the opening day starter, but he's going against Osweiler, who's just not good,
And
right?
Kessler,
if we've given up on Osweiler here.
And Cody Kessler, who wasn't terrible when he played.
Right. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see because Hugh Jackson's saying the things that of course, any coach would say about his quarterback, the rookie quarterback, that no one's ever seen play at the NFL level. He's got the skill set. He's got everything. Okay, but eventually he has to play in a regular season game against another team's number ones, and we'll see how he does.
But let me ask this question of you, because I am really confused and put off by Brian Kelly's whole shtick.
Yep.
Brian Kelly recently said, and this was just flabbergasting to me in the self-awareness that it lacked. He said that last year was a real bleep show because he had to concentrate too much on fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
As if he'd been more available, they wouldn't have been 4-8. The
Right.
reason they weren't 4-8, I mean, it's just stupefying to hear someone say that, exonerate himself, 4-8, one of the worst seasons in the long and distinguished history of Notre Dame football, and you're saying that you're kind of like a teacher who is leaving things to the substitutes because you had to be raising funds. But the question I wanted to ask you is, how do you go 4-8 at Notre Dame with a guy who's got a pro skill set at quarterback?
It's a great question.
Like, how does that even happen?
Because you're fundraising.
But, I mean, I think that's a fair indictment. There are many fair indictments of Brian Kelly, his record chief among them.
Yep.
But the way he also behaves sometimes where he throws kids under the bus, and it seems to never be his fault on anything. It's fundraising's fault.
They were putting a lot of stuff on Kaiser.
But what I'm saying
he
is...
He was putting a lot of stuff on Kaiser.
But I guess what I'm saying to you is, if I have a guy good enough to win the Browns starting job, and I understand many of you the other day are looking at those guys kneeling, 12 guys kneeling, and they're not kneeling in support of Kaepernick. They were praying for Kaepernick to come and be in their huddle. I know. Many of you are looking at that and making fun of the Browns quarterback situation. But if you're good enough to start for the Browns in the NFL because you have the skill set to start immediately, how the hell do you go 4-8 at Notre Dame?
I told you, fundraising.
Like, how does that not stick to Brian Kelly in a way that, kind of ends Brian Kelly?
You want more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz? Tune in, starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Dan Le Batard.
White people mad? Try to get me fired. Go ahead. Get petitions together.
Stugotz.
Come on, white people, oppressed white people. Rise up! Form a union. Gather around. You can be united on something. It's mad at me.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf expected to join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The World Boxing Council has created a special prize for Mayweather-McGregor fight, which isn't actually for any real WBC championship. Instead, the WBC revealed the gloriously blingy money belt, which is studded with 3,360 diamonds, 600 sapphires, 300 emeralds, and 1.5 kilograms of 24-karat gold on green Italian alligator leather.
Yeah, of course. That's the belt they're fighting for.
Yep.
Fake fight.
Yep. Red Sox.
You see the ring girls are bigger than they are?
No.
How funny was that?
Really?
All this talk of this fight, and then the ring girls at the weigh-in yesterday, both ring girls towering over these two guys who are going to, they're going to fall over. If either one of them carries that belt, they're going to fall over because they don't weigh anything.
If you wear the green Italian alligator leather to tonight's Red Sox Pawtucket AAA affiliate game, Dan, it's Kyrie Irving night. And any fan wearing anything green or Celtics garb gets free admission.
Nice.
Yep. It's weird. Pasa. I have no idea what you said. And why did I just repeat it? And finally, artificial intelligence developed by one of Elon Musk's companies defeated the world's best esports players recently, and now Elon Musk, who's moving to Mars, is warning the world that we should be vastly more concerned with AI safety than North Korea. That is insane. When your big day or special event rolls around this summer, look just as great as you feel in rental suits from thebblacktux.com. The Black Tux is your new way to rent to get free shipping plus $20 off your purchase. Visit thebblacktux.com/Dan for all the latest headlines and information. Tune in to SportsCenter. It's on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Texter writes in, you got to ask Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf about his protesting back in the day. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
All right.
I'm glad that I got that reminder.
We were struggling for questions.
Yeah, I was like, what was I going to ask him? Like, hey, Chris, what's going on?
And I see how that would make sense with everything that's going on.
Right. Yeah.
It's a good time, a coincidence.
That's
that
good
we booked him.
advice.
Yep.
That's good advice. I'm just curious, how do people feel about the idea of, I tell you, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is going to join us. Abdul-Rauf is going to join us. Does that keep you listening, or do you turn your radio off? Oh, wow. Fats and Info with an honest answer just shakes his head no. Immediately shakes his head no. I didn't even know I was looking at him. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't listen to that.
I actually think that speaks to a lot in the audience that probably aren't old enough to remember him actually playing basketball.
Yeah, he did this Kaepernick thing before Kaepernick did it, long time ago.
And not only that, Mike is right. From an athletic standpoint, I don't think people realize how good Chris Jackson was, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, in college at LSU.
Yeah,
He's one of the great college players I've ever seen.
That's right. And so
And he is not here right now.
And he's not here right now.
I was hoping he would have heard that.
So
Save it.
Since he's not here right now, maybe we have another Suey category. Useless sound. Useless sound. How long is this, Mike?
This one is just under 5 minutes.
All right, let's go. The most useless sound produced on this show. I thought it was the last time we did a Suey, which was all of those songs. I felt like almost all of those songs were useless, except the first one by a listener that sounded like it was from Cheers.
Even Margaritaville?
Yeah, Margaritaville was the worst of it, and it'll probably win. So here it is. The single most useless sound. You can vote at Le Batard Show from the last year is...
And now, the Suey nominees for Useless Sound of the Year. Chuck Pagano.
Obviously, it was a great team win. Hi, Frank. It's good to see you, buddy.
Ben Roethlisberger.
You're going up to the lion's den. You know, the dragon's lair. They're the dragon. We're trying to slay them.
Mike Zimmer.
You know, I thought our team played with a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, a lot of fight.
Andrew Luck.
He's a beautiful teammate. He's a great football player. He's a great locker room guy.
Ben McAdoo.
Taking care of the ball, handling the ball. It's like the Duke's like a bar of gold this time of year.
Sean McDermott.
I've gone to 2 Super Bowls. I know what that looks like, smells like, and tastes like.
Chuck Pagano.
We live in, I call it the Burger King mentality. Burger King world. I want it my way. I want it now.
So why?
John Fussell.
We're obviously, not going to go to the playoffs. So what are we playing for? We're playing because we love ball?
Ben Roethlisberger.
We're driving a car and we don't have a rearview mirror right now. We're not looking back. We're looking forward.
John Harbaugh.
Joe, he's as tough as a $2 steak.
Andrew Luck.
That was huge. First 5, last 5, first 5, last 5.
Chuck Pagano.
The first 5, the last 5, first 5, last 5.
Jay Gruden.
I don't know how to react. I didn't think it was possible to tie. I know there was a tie last week in Arizona, but I was like, how the heck they tie? And now we know. It would help to win this one, but I guess it's not a loss. I don't know.
Mohamed Sanu.
Julio is a different guy, man. That guy really an alien. For somebody to do what he just did with a half a toe was amazing.
Sean McVay.
We feel that true leadership is about building and developing relationships that are going to help us create a unified vision that's sustainable over time.
Herm Edwards.
I learned this when I was 6 years old in kindergarten. Here's what my teacher did to me. I was a rambunctious little guy, always talking, out of turn, just talking. Teacher said, you know what? No milk, no graham crackers for you today. Next day, kept talking. You know what today? No milk, no graham crackers, no nap. Next day, still talking. She said, you know what you do today? When we go to recess, when we get to go play, you go put your nose on the window and you watch the kids play and you sit in this room. And I sat there. And when that teacher came back in there, I said, I understand now. He took me off the playground.
Terrell Pryor.
He has heart of a lion. I'm a big lion fan, favorite animal.
Andrew Luck.
He's always been steady, Eddie.
Bruce Arians.
Oh, we were ready. We just didn't play.
Jim Colwell.
Excuses are tools of incompetence. They're used by monuments of nothingness. Those who specialize in them are seldom good at anything else.
Dan Quinn.
I like our run and hit factor. Our communicating is getting better. I think our arrow is definitely going up.
Scott Tolson.
It was a frustrating start, but I learned from it, I think.
Bill O'Brien.
Pretty up and down, but there's 5 more ups than 3 downs.
Mike Tomlin.
I don't want to blame things on the weather, man. We're an all-weather group. We're just allergic to lightning.
Cam Newton.
I've been playing this game long enough to know that the tables will turn sooner or later, and they did, but we just got to find a way to keep the table in our favor.
Odell Beckham Jr.
A gazelle running from lions. That's what it feel like. You're running for your life. Sometimes a gazelle get caught, but there's some pretty quick animals that get away every now and then. I'm not a gazelle, though.
Jay Gruden.
Okay. Well.
72-minute game today, and it was a grinder, 75, whatever it is. I can't add.
John Harbaugh.
It's not black and white. It's not do or die, but it is win or loss.
Andy Reid.
Yeah, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't butt his rear end so much. That's all right. That's how that works.
Chuck Pagano.
That works.
Played damn good football for a lot of minutes out there, but we didn't do it for 60 and some in overtime.
Jay Gruden.
Good players. Chris gives you a little something different. He's more of our third down back, but he can do some first down carries. Matt's the big plugger, and then a great changeup is Fat Rob.
Chuck Pagano.
It's simple. If you grab a guy and you're not supposed to grab a guy, they're going to call holding.
I don't know how, guy's got a club on his hand. I don't know how he can hold, but they call it.
Andrew Luck.
Absolutely. I'm always looking for Jack Doyle.
Chuck Pagano.
We were going to fire all our ball. We were going to leave everything. No regrets.
Mike Tomlin.
Splash. They made the splash plays. We didn't make enough of them.
I mean, I feel like there are three categories there. There's useless sound, there's Chuck Pagano's useless sound, and then there's Jay Gruden's useless sound. Oh, my gosh, I'm swimming with lightheadedness. I don't know how he holds with a club on his hand. If that's not the sentence I would send off into space so the future can understand football once it's extinct, that's the sentence. Like, that is the sentence. Like, seriously.
It's that or a half a toe.
No, I mean, when I need to explain this, like, when it no longer exists, and we're like, what the hell were we doing? It was a cockfighting with 300-pound human beings. It'd be like, I don't know, it was holding, and he had a club on his hand, and I don't know why. It was holding or how he could do it, but he held. He got a penalty. Is it?
I ain't got time to bleed.
Either that or that Jonathan Winters Sports Center flash where he says, and the owner of the Giants says he doesn't know how many fingers.
It's Kevin Winters.
Kevin Winters.
That's a fun.
What I call him, Jonathan Winters?
Yeah, that's a old comedian. Yeah, I think he's been dead about 40 years.
I think that's a $5 fine.
Let me see when Jonathan Winters
I think
left the
that's
earth
the
here.
worst of the fines. I got to get a $5 fine for that. Calling Kevin Winters. Can you find that sound, though, Mike? Can you find the sound of Jonathan Winters doing a sports flash for us? Please find that and play it at the end of
Well,
this.
I can't find Jonathan Winters, but I'll look for Kevin Winters.
I said Jonathan Winters that time on purpose.
Yep. He left us in 2013, not that long ago.
I mean, wasn't he? He was Mork from Mork. He was. Isn't Jonathan Winters the guy who?
That was Robin Williams.
I know, but
he was Mork. Yeah.
No, I know. I know.
Was he in Mork and Mindy?
Jonathan Winters, I'm pretty sure, was in Mork and Mindy and was related in that show to Mork. Was maybe his father or something?
Be Mork because Robin was Mork.
He was Mirth.
Yeah, he was Mirth from Earth.
Yeah, Mirth from Earth. Yes.
Thank you.
Got it. Here for you. Reoccurring role.
Regardless, find for me,
or
please.
Recurring.
Kevin Winters. And then put that on the poll as well, Guillermo. Sending it off into space. What better explains football? Holding with a club on your hand or this sound from this SportsCenter update?
Giants owner John Mara, who also today said he doesn't know how many fingers JPP has.
Jonathan Winter is one of the best we have. Man.
Isn't it just Kevin Winter and not plural? Kevin Winter.
$10?
I didn't do anything that time.
Don Le Batard. Do you refer to the yellow sauce at a hibachi restaurant as yum yum sauce? 57% of the audience said no.
Stugotz.
Do you go ginger, 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 yum yum, yum yum, yum yum, yum yum, yum yum, or yum yum, yum yum, yum yum, yum yum? 38% of the audience said yum yum, yum yum, yum yum. So they get 3 yum yum sauces. They ditch the ginger, get 2 yum yums with an additional yum yum. Second place was ginger yum yum. That Chris said earlier, no one goes ginger, ginger. 18% of the audience goes ginger, ginger. And 18% of the audience also goes yum, 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 yum. About that.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
In playing that useless sound montage, Mike Zimmer, I think, only made one appearance. Mike Zimmer is maximum football. And Mike Zimmer was quoted the other day, he was having all sorts of eyesight problems.
Yeah.
He was quoted the other day as saying, this has been really tough, the losing of my eyesight. But losing hurts more.
Have you heard what PFT commenter says about Mike Zimmer?
No.
If he wasn't coaching football, he'd be coaching football.
Yeah. I mean, he's a football guy.
Football guy, man.
Yeah. But
you think losing really hurts more?
Well, I want to ask that question. What's the way to ask that question? Like, why does no one blink at those quotes?
Well, that's what a coach says, though. I mean, that's what he's supposed to say. But someone should kind of follow up and question him on that. Coach, really? Really?
Well,
losing a football game, it hurts more than what you've been going through with your eyes the last 2 years?
Tell me that you would not like. I don't know if you gave me the power. Mike Ryan, find that sound for me, please, of Brock Osweiler saying nonsense and a reporter calling him on the nonsense.
Great.
Well, because if I could change one thing about sports media, is that I would make all of it feel a little more like this exchange between Brock Osweiler and a reporter.
Are you good enough to be a starting quarterback in this league? I mean,
absolutely.
Of the system.
Absolutely.
Why?
I think the proof is in the film for the past 2 years.
But some people would say the proof's not in the film from last year.
That's okay.
That's okay. So I'd like Mike Zimmer to say, yes, losing my eyesight's been terrible, but losing's been worse. Why? Well, because I can't see things, and, I come out here, and what I can see is Sam Bradford's my quarterback, and we throw the ball 3 yards, and my offensive line can't block anybody.
Just a simple
So I don't even mind losing my eyesight, given what it is that I'm coaching.
Right.
If I were coaching Aaron Rodgers, I would love to have more eyesight, but I'm totally good with less eyesight.
I'd rather not see this.
Yes, I don't want to see anything that's happening out there. Have you seen my offensive line?
I genuinely believe the man.
I'm saying, though, never mind. It doesn't matter what I'm saying. It's just Mike Zimmer, that attitude. No, Mike Zimmer. And I'm sorry I'm scolding you like a dog that just pooped on the rug, but no. In fact, put it on the poll, Guillermo. What's more important, your eyesight or winning football games? Put it on the poll.
I know what I'd want my coach to say.
Absolutely, man. Just saying what a coach says, man. That's what they do. That's what they say. They don't mean it. No one believes them.
Okay, but wouldn't you not? Yes or no, you would have liked to have heard some follow-up questions after that quote.
Yes. Why? A simple why, as you alluded to, or Mike, you sound ridiculous.
Right, Mike, doesn't that sound a little like it lacks perspective?
Think about what you're saying, Mike. It's your eyesight.
That's pretty important. So,
would you like to see your family?
Yes, I mean, or just see. You could have ended that sentence a couple of words earlier.
I feel like eyesight would be really important to a talent evaluator.
Or to a liver, not your organ, to someone who's living.
I was confused. Thank you for clearing
that up.
Someone who wants to keep
weird.
living.
All of a sudden, I had a liver with eyes. It was weird.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, because we are not actually a sports show. We're kind of a spoof of a sports show. We're going to do this thing that we do around a big event where we give you sports radio by checking in with an assortment of a cornucopia of experts. How many we got here, Mike? It's going to be totally random. The delight and the surprise is in sometimes hearing the voices that are surprised. Allison is feuding with somebody. Have you heard this story?
No.
Allison, because Allison's got to make all these requests, and she's calling random people, and she's saying, hey, can you come on the show for one question?
Right.
And so she's got to explain to people who don't know what we do, and then they end up in fights. And so now who are you feuding with? Who you got a fight going with?
Roy Firestone.
Oh, God.
What happened? Wait a minute. You can't just walk away from the microphone on that. What happened?
He was, I think, insulted. I explained it to him last night when I was going through these, random names and just kind of what I thought would be funny. And I was confirming with him today, and he was like, wait, you only want me for one question, not a serious interview? And I was like, no, it's just one question. This is a question. He was like, how many? And he was totally insulted, and he was like, I love your face of surprise. No, he just was like, when you're interested in having a real interview, then I'll do it. And I was like,
that actually doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
Roy
Firestone, I thought he had a good sense of humor.
Another person I'm feuding with, Joe Bell, O.J. Simpson's childhood friend.
Why would we call him? That doesn't make much sense.
He yelled at me yesterday.
What?
He was like, I'm never talking to ESPN. I'm like, well, we're not really ESPN. We're ESPN Radio. And he was like,
what do you mean we're not really ESPN?
I was just saying
that's good. That's good guest booking.
Thank you. And I said,
you were trying to dupe him.
What were you doing?
Really
I'm proud of you.
ESPN. Well, because he said nobody told me about the Oscars. He said, you guys used me all over the place for promotion. You used me everywhere. Take my name out of your folder.
Whoa!
I guess he wanted an invite or an actual Oscar.
Wow.
Let's send him. Get Ezra on the phone. Tell him to send Joe Bell an Oscar.
I said nobody told me about the Oscars.
Send him an Oscar so we can get Joe Bell back on the show.
She didn't take that as a no, though. She said, Billy, call him tomorrow and don't say ESPN. Say Dan Le Batard show, and he'll still come on with us.
One of the oldest tricks.
All right, well, let's find out together.
How about this Firestone guy, though?
Roy Firestone. Go ahead and YouTube Roy Firestone Lounge Act, because he did like stand-up comedy and singing and stuff. He fancies himself an entertainer and really is an entertainer. Does impersonations.
Well, that's why I'm surprised he's not okay with this. I mean, how many people are calling Roy Firestone for an interview these days? He should take him when he can get him.
I mean, okay. But Roy Firestone, you realize Roy Firestone was a monster in this industry.
Of course I do. I'm a huge fan of Roy Firestone until today.
Before all these argument shows, Roy Firestone was the guy who anybody in sports was going to be interviewed. That was the guy they were going to. Anyway, find out if Roy Firestone, Joe Bell, and others are on with us next.
Dan Le Batard.
I mean, Stugotz is the physical manifestation of the comment section come to life. Do you agree with that assessment that you are a comment section come to life?
100%.
It's, I wouldn't take such pride in that.
I do.
Stugotz.
But I want you to imagine Stugotz rising up from the gutter. Like, what you're looking at right now is a gutter. Only a gutter. And now it starts as a face, and the mouth gets bigger, and it just keeps growing, and then just shouts, rings.
This is the Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mike, do you have any Captain Easy stance imaging back there? Because LeBron James is wanting to be nominated for Captain Easy stance. Did you read his tweets, Stugotz, on what he's saying? He's coming down on jersey burning. Go ahead and play the imaging for Captain Easy stance, whatever you got back there, Mike. Whatever you got.
Easy stance, man.
Okay, it stinks. All right, the kind of production you've come to love on this show. What is he saying?
It's actually a couple of tweets here. Well, a string of tweets. The burning of the jersey thing is getting ridiculous now. The man was traded. What do you not understand? And played in the game. So he was talking about Isaiah Thomas here. And played in the game after his sister's tragic death. Gordon Hayward paid his dues as well and decided to do what's best for him and his family. Put in the work, got better, became an all-star, etc.
All right, enough. Captain Easy
stance.
Stop
burning jerseys.
He's just taking the popular positions. It's easy to do.
Yeah. Easy stance, man.
Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and do this ridiculous thing that we do, where we just ask a bunch of experts questions on the big event of the sporting world.
But he didn't say it wasn't okay to burn Kyrie's jersey.
Okay. Yeah. So, who's our first one? Mike, how many we got here?
We have up to 14 today.
Oh, for the love of God, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, so you guys wrap up with your boring Kyrie Irving.
My fault. I didn't realize 14 of them. You didn't tell me that.
Biggest event of the year, man.
All right, who's the first one?
Legendary champion, George Foreman.
All right, nice. Excellent. George Foreman, what is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather? Thank you for being on with us, George.
The most important thing is don't line up and get your hands in position like a boxer. Drop them and just purely fight.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent analysis by champion George Foreman. Good start. Who's second, Mike Ryan?
Legendary SportsCenter anchor, Kenny Mayne.
All right, Kenny Mayne. What is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
Hit him.
Okay, very good. Excellent work. That's excellent. Man, that's good analysis right there. Kenny was perfect, efficient. Mike, who's next?
Legendary tough man, Butterbean.
Okay, Butterbean, boxing expert. What is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather, Butterbean?
There's actually two things. First thing, he needs to pray. Second thing is he can catch him. He's got to pin him up in a corner and not let him out.
All right, very good. Butterbean, always good catching up with you. Butter. It's like, see, who's next, Mike?
Legend, Rachel Dolezal.
Okay, Rachel Dolezal. What is the single most important thing, Rachel Dolezal, that Conor McGregor has to do? You got me on this one. That Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
There's nothing he can do because boxing is over UFC.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's it. There is nothing he can do. That's good. That's good analysis.
Yeah.
Thank you to Rachel Dolezal. That's excellent. I mean, that just makes me smile. Let's keep it moving. Who's next?
Legendary Action Park COO, Jason Bays.
Oh, for the love of God. Yes! All right. What? What's the most important thing McGregor has to do to beat Mayweather? Not legend Action Park COO.
He needs to toughen himself up by visiting Action Park before he actually has a chance in this match.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Excellent plug. Who's next, Mike Ryan?
Legendary quarterback Bubby Brister.
Oh, wow.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Bubby, what is the key? What is the thing? Oh, we lost Bubby. What is the single most important thing McGregor has to do to beat Mayweather?
Land a big punch.
Oh, there it is. There it
Hey,
is.
Bob.
Thank you, Bubby. Good
All right.
talking to you. Always a pleasure. Even though I think it's the first time I've ever talked to you. Who's next, Mike?
Legendary assistant Siri.
All right, Siri, what's the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
Easy. He needs to wear blue trunks.
Okay. Huh. Very good. Yeah. Who's next, Mike Ryan?
Legendary paddleboarder, even though he was on a boat, really, it had an engine. We don't really believe him. Chris Burdish.
All right, so what is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
Well, he's a famous underdog, so beware the lightning fast left hook.
Oh, beware the lightning fast left hook. He's totally making that up, much like his journey across the sea on what was actually a cruise ship instead of a paddleboard.
Legendary liar.
Who else is, who's next, Mike Ryan?
Legendary jackpot winner and friend of the show, Katrina Bookman.
Is this the woman who won and they offered her a steak dinner because the machine malfunctioned and then she sued them? Okay, good. What is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
He has to show him the money.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know what that means, but that's what this woman is about. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I kind of wanted to catch up with her, see how her lawsuit was going.
She dropped it.
Okay, she did?
I believe so, yeah.
Who's next?
Randy Scott.
Oh, I don't want to talk to him. Do I
Yeah,
have to?
don't even call me a friend of the program. I'm not a friend of the program.
Do I have to talk to him? Just go. Don't make me ask the question. Just say what you think and get out of here.
Don't out Floyd. Chase him. Don't counter. Don't wait. Chase him and end it within 4.
All right, get out of here, Randy Scott.
That was terrible.
Want to talk to you. Didn't want to. That's your fault for putting him on. Who else is next?
Legendary caller Arash from New York.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Arash.
He has to conserve his energy by not eating apples and instead drinking apple juice, obviously.
Yeah, because apples are overrated, as Arash has covered before. Rash him. Who else? Who's next, Mike Ryan?
Black civil rights activists
for the love of
who
God.
befriends KKK members. Daryl Davies.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, Daryl.
What's up?
Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Excellent. Thank you for making time for us. What is the single most important thing that Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
Stay out of Mayweather's reach.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Are we almost done here? We still
This is
got
the last
callers?
one.
This is the last one?
One more.
All right, who is it?
Legendary mother, Mina Kimes' mom.
What? I thought the punchline. Hello, Mina Kimes'
Hi,
mom.
Mrs.
Nice
Kimes.
to talk to you. Hello.
Hello.
What is?
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to speak with you.
Nice to talk to you.
Hi.
Same here. Same here.
What is the key? What is the one thing Conor McGregor has to do to beat Floyd Mayweather?
I read somewhere, but I agree with it. He really needs to go out the first punch right at the opening bell.
Yeah.
So just to gotta do it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, first punch, opening bell, knock him out. All right, thank you, Mina Kimes' mother. I've never spoken to you before, but it's nice talking to you. Do we have anyone else?
Thank you.
You raise a
Thank
lovely
you. By
body.
the way,
Yes.
great show. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
today's
Mom.
not proof of that, but thank you. Moms can always be
Bye.
kind. I thought the punchline was going to be that we were going to, at the end, ask ESPN broadcaster Robert Lee.
Yeah, he's not talking. We were trying.
Yeah.
But instead, you realize,
Mooch didn't answer either.
oh, Mooch, you guys tried Mooch.
Yeah, and Pennington bailed on us as
that
well.
would have been so funny, too.
Yeah.
Mooch, if we talked to him, but not about anything, Mooch.
We have we got a voicemail from Bob Einstein. Yeah, he didn't want to do it.
But you guys would agree it petered out.
No, Mina Kimes' mom.
Oh, she saved it.
Daryl Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to hear the introduction again?
Black civil rights activist who befriends KKK members, Daryl Davis.
What does that guy think when we call him? Like, what does he think? He's hung up the phone now. Now, this is a man, I remind you, this is a man who is black, who befriends KKK members to show them that black people are not bad. That guy just hung up his phone and said, what did I just do? Again, this is a black guy who befriends KKK members who just now hung up his phone questioning what it is that he just did.
And probably not as random as Bubby Brister. We gave you Rachel Dolezal, people.
That was good. That was so good I didn't even know what to do with it. That was so good that I got disoriented.
We gave you Jason Bays.
That was no good.
I was introducing everybody as legendary blank, and when Rachel Dolezal came across
Rachel
my notes,
Dolezal, that one was the winner there.
Are you unhappy with this? Did I hear a little bit of like
you sound
complaint?
unsatisfied.
No!
She's been working for days on it,
A little
man.
unsatisfied?
Wait,
is that what happened?
all I'm saying is that if you're working for days on
Not
something,
days, no, just since last night, yes.
the punctuation has to be someone other than Mina Kimes.
No, that's a great
That, yeah, you know what?
No one would have guessed that.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, you're wrong here.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Tough
Flawless
get, too.
execution. Nobody stood on anybody. That was fantastic. I mean, we gave you Syrian character.
Siri. Make me a bicycle, clown.
That was a real Siri.
We can't be trusted. Oh, that was the real Siri? I thought
that was Susan.
No, that was the
Bennett.
real Siri.
See, I thought that was
the real
a tape.
Siri.
I thought that was
No.
a tape.
No.
That's my
The
bad.
Siri.
That's my bad.
No.
I didn't think that was a real person. I thought you guys were playing something
That's
that was
your
taped there.
very bad.
That's my bad.
The only fake there was a paddleboarder.
Great joke by you. One of your best ever right there.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with